Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Saga, where we discuss and talk about all those great stories beyond the Skywalker saga, the movies, and whatnot. I'm David Cottingham with Hannah Burr again. How are you, Hannah?
I'm doing well. You?
Very good. Very good, because we are about to talk about possibly the best novel that has been released. Arguably one of the best novels that has been released. And that is Star Wars Dark Disciple. Now, I can see by your face you are excited to dive into this, because I am too. First off, I just want to set this up. This is a novel that was released back in July of 2015. One of the first new canon novels that were announced as part of the new canon. And the great thing about this book is that it is written from unfinished episodes of the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody remembers, when Lucasfilm was sold to Disney, Disney canceled the production of the Clone Wars episodes. And as you know, in animation, you have tons and tons of episodes in the pipeline already as you're producing these things. And unfortunately, when it got canceled, we got a lot of unfinished scripts, and those scripts, which was great. Some of this story was actually written by Katie Lucas, George's daughter, and Christie Golden, the author of this book, took those scripts and made this story. And what a fantastic story! It centers around two characters, one that we're very familiar with, Asajj Ventress, and one that we've heard about but not really had a chance to dive really into his character. But that's Quinlan Vos, Jedi Quinlan Vos. So anyway, let's dive into this and talk about this, because it's one of the best ones out there. Hannah, of course, let's get your take on your feelings and thoughts after you read this book.
Ventress is one of my favorite characters, period.
Yes, agreed.
That's all I'm gonna say. And I actually read this book before I saw the episode that we see Vos for the first time, and I think he's only in one episode. She nails the character dead on. That's all I got to say. Mm-hmm. So, takeaway from the book is that it's fantastic, and it really dives into concepts that we never really thought of before and that we've never seen before. Concepts of what happens when the Jedi Council breaks their own code.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when they start thinking about the ends justify the means.
Yes.
What happens when a Jedi slowly descends, and how difficult it is to come back. And through that story, you almost feel more sympathetic towards Vader and Anakin and his fall,
mm-hmm.
and the understanding of all of that. So takeaway from the book is that it's just straight up fantastic. We meet concepts that we haven't met before. I promise you, Ventress you'll see a whole other side of Ventress you haven't seen before. If you're into romance, you'll like this. It is a bit of a romantic.
Yes. Very surprising.
So those are just my takeaways right there.
Yes. And I'm with you. I think you hit on the main ones. I think what's great about this also is we still get those familiar characters also from the Clone Wars. You know, Obi-Wan's involved, and Yoda, and Mace, and Anakin. And it truly feels like Clone Wars episodes. I mean, it's you can fit this thing right into the, as you're watching the episodes and you break away to read this book, you're definitely still in that world and in that moment. So it's a very great addition to the Clone Wars series. Let's hit on that first one you talked about, that Jedi code, because it's no secret. It's not like the Jedi are what we think of modern day as comic book superheroes, where superheroes don't kill anybody. I mean, Jedi kill people. I mean, that's no secret, right? I mean, if they have to, they kill people. But what's strange is that there is this, I'm sorry. Let me take that back a little bit. In battles and in conflicts, Jedi tend to, just kill the opposition, right? If they're feeling threatened or if they're initiating self-defense. But what this book brings up is it brings up the notion of assassination. Should they assassinate? Is assassinating Dooku, like you said, a means to justify ending the Clone Wars, right? And what's great is that they struggle with that decision throughout the entire book, and in the end, you find out whether or not they admit that they were at fault or not. But what I mean, I didn't think that we were going to go down that road in this book. I don't know what you thought. How did you feel about that?
Well, at first, when Obi-Wan is talking to Vos about, the Jedi Council thinks, they think you're great for this and we'll set you up with Ventress. That's not really spoiling at all. That's the beginning of the book. See, Ventress will help you out because she used to be with Dooku. Once again, if you've watched Clone Wars, that's not a spoiler either.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie. When I first read that, I was thinking, that's a little odd.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even from Obi-Wan's perspective, he already is starting to feel, he doesn't feel right about asking this, but he can't put his finger on why it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then later on, you see through Obi-Wan's point of view that he believes it's wrong.
Agreed. Yeah.
And he believes that there's hypocrisy behind it. So no, when you first look at the book, Dark Disciple, you think, oh, okay, and we're like, oh, I wonder what path we're going to go down. Probably something dark, but you don't realize how dark it gets in that sense when it comes to questioning morality.
Right. And and the thing about it is like we already have a little bit of experience with the Jedi going against their code in a sense. I mean, just watch episode 3, right? There's that struggle of spying on the Chancellor. And Anakin knows it's wrong. The Council knows it's wrong. That's why it's off the books. And it almost becomes this reoccurring problem with the Jedi. Even though they have this council of wise masters, 12 of them sitting around governing, the whole entire order, they're still doing things behind closed doors and making decisions that necessarily aren't with. So it does give you more understanding of where Anakin is sitting in episode 3. Like, why are you guys making these kind of decisions, and maybe they are evil, maybe they are wrong, and I think to me, that's the beauty of the Jedi, is that the intentions are there. They're really trying to bring peace and justice and order to the galaxy. Not order necessarily, that's a bad word, but peace and knowledge and peace throughout the galaxy. And I think that when you start doing and showing stories like this, I just think it's good because you're really humanizing. I feel like the Jedi, they do make mistakes. It's whether or not you learn from those mistakes, right? That make you ultimately a better person. So, in a better order, right? So I think that's why I think that in the end, this is somewhat going off topic a little bit, but that's why I think in the end, when in episode 6, when it's called Return of the Jedi, and Luke becomes the last Jedi, I always envisioned that he's going to make the Jedi Order better than what it was, right? That was the whole point, I feel like, of the entire Skywalker saga was, the Jedi made their mistakes and had to fall. And then when they come back, they're better. And that's what a little disappointed me with the prequel trilogy that we didn't, the sequel trilogy that we didn't get a true Jedi Order back again. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Well, going back to what you were saying about how that helps us understand Anakin wondering why they want him to spy on the Chancellor, I think take it a step further. It might have been the last straw for Anakin because Mace is about to kill Palpatine, and he's like, "No, he has to stand trial." And Mace goes, "No, he's too dangerous to keep alive." So right there, you're thinking, well, are the Jedi just a bunch of know-it-alls who think they're above the law and the only code that they set forth? So you're right, that plants that seed and that helps us better understand Anakin's struggle, which isn't articulated that well in the prequels.
Right. Yeah, right. But you're right. I mean, Mace at that point, was basically going to assassinate Palpatine, even though he is the ultimate villain, right? It's not like he's innocent at all. So there is a good struggle there. And I think within this, there's that struggle which then extends to the people that are tasked with it, right? Quinlan Vos, who is not in agreement, but he's going to do what the council orders. But then you got Asajj, who teams up with him, who wants to kill Dooku.
Oh yeah,
totally believes in it. So that's what's and again, the next step is their relationship, right? I think it's fantastic that the contrast that they have as they go forward in this. And what's surprisingly too about the book, I think, is that it doesn't happen all in the course of a week. I mean, there's some time that takes in this book where they're training together, because she's trying to train him as a bounty hunter at first because he's kind of going undercover. So anyway, it's a good time spent together with Ventress and Quinlan, and of course, like you said, it is a romantic piece at some point, right? So not to give too much away, but it got very surprising, their relationship. So I guess for me, I'll say before I pass on to you, I think for me, the true standout of this book is definitely Ventress for me. Like you said, she was a cool character. I always liked her in the Clone Wars. I thought that she popped up at the right times and she did her thing. She made her contribution. But in this book, I mean, you said it, she truly became probably one of my top 5 characters in all of Star Wars. And what's funny is after I read this book or listened to this book, I started telling some people that they're like, "Really, Ventress?" I'm like, "I'm telling you, you gotta read this book." It's she becomes a very, very strong character. She comes completely full circle from where when we were first introduced to her in the very first Clone Wars movie, where she is just a killer assassin. And I just fell in love with her, and I think that a lot of people do when they read this thing. So that's my big takeaway from this book. I really think that the character of Ventress was so elevated, and done so much justice for this story that I was very impressed. So what really stood out for you in this book?
I mean, obviously, Ventress being such a well-rounded character and so much appreciation for her. For me, it's the idea that you can be part of the dark side of the Force without being a Sith. That's sort of touched on in other episodes of the Clone Wars, but this is really emphasized because, I mean, it's called Dark Disciple.
Right.
This Vos ends up going towards the dark side, and seeing that sort of descent and seeing how it's dark, but you're not necessarily a Sith yet.
Yeah.
It it's this whole different concept of, oh my gosh, so Jedi can use the dark side of the Force if they want to,
Mm-hmm,
and it
mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily make them a Sith.
No, right. Yeah,
Uh,
that's very true. I think it's always been rumored. I don't think it's been fully canonized, but it's always been rumored that when Mace Windu was fighting Sidious in Episode 3, that he had to tap into the dark side to even be able to
mhm.
compete. That's why those other three Jedi died so quickly, because they couldn't stand up to him as to his power. So that does make sense, and Mace is so strong that he's able to resist the temptation of turning. But Quinlan, when he's definitely not as strong as Mace, so it does make sense that he could easily turn if he does commit a little bit to it. And you're right, you could definitely, use or lean towards the dark side of the Force and be a somewhat of a Sith loyalist in a way, and not be a full Sith. So you're right. That was a very surprising, because again, it goes back to the title of the book, Dark Disciple. I think most people, at least I did, I assumed it was referring to Asajj,
Yes.
right? When actually it's referring more to Quinlan. And that was surprising. And I love that twist, and I love that. And it's not really a spoiler because it happens pretty early in the book, but it's a really cool storyline for him. Um, I speak highly of Ventress in this book, but yeah, Quinlan's a great character in this book too.
He is, and I think it's very humanizing because it's a slow descent too. It's not like overnight
Yeah,
he's all of a sudden.
yeah,
And I think this is actually such a really, really strong parallel to life, because you read all of his, and let's be honest, Ventress feeds into this, all of this rationalization and justification for what he's doing, and
hmm,
why he's choosing to take that next step further, and why, and all of a sudden he's in a situation that he can't get out of.
yeah,
And I think that's a parallel to life. There's some things where if we just justify and rationalize, we'll end up in life in a situation that we never intended to be in the first place, but now look at where we are.
hmm,
So it's a parallel, and it's very realistic, and it's, you sympathize and you empathize. And once again, it helps you. I almost wonder if his character was meant to be a parallel for Anakin Skywalker, because by going through his adventure and by going through his story, you realize, you know what? It does make more sense that Anakin would turn to the dark side, especially if he is rationalizing and justifying everything that he's doing. And then all
right.
of a sudden he's in the position where he killed Mace Windu, and now there's no going back.
Hmm. Yeah, very true, very true. So overall, how has, because like you, I'm a huge fan of the Clone Wars. How does this story, after you read this, how did this? I don't know. Did it impact your love at all for the Clone Wars in general?
Well, now I want to see them in episode form.
Well, yeah, true,
uh,
true.
I think for me, I was never fully satisfied with how Ventress' story ended.
Hmm, hmm.
Like there's kind of a bit of a redemption there, I guess. But I think this book really gives her a proper period at the end of the page.
Yes.
Um, is it necessarily needed for the overall plot of the Clone Wars? No. But
No.
does it help bring parallel and light to Anakin Skywalker's story, and just gives a character a better justice of a character arc.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like I understand why Filoni wanted to do this arc,
Mhm.
to fit it in. I mean, it would have, like you said, there really wasn't any major significance to the Clone Wars. I mean, it could have been. Obviously, they're trying to kill Dooku, right? So
Right.
it would have fit into the storyline of the series, but as a separate story now, it's I think it does exactly what you said. I think it definitely adds to Anakin's story in my mind, and I think it definitely adds to uh, giving us a more detailed look at Ventress's character, right? Because yeah, when you watch the Clone Wars episodes, she went from being a failed Sith apprentice in a sense, to being a bounty hunter. And that was really the last of it. We never really saw much of her. I think she was in the last couple episodes of season 5, which was at the end, at that point, the end of the series, where Ahsoka was, wrongfully accused, right?
Mhm. Yeah, she was helping Ahsoka.
Right. So in context, this book happens probably shortly after that, because she is down at the lower levels, and that's
Mhm.
where Quinlan and Obi-Wan go and find her. But so yeah, I'm with you. This would have been incredible to watch. Oh my gosh. And I remember being at Star Wars Celebration. For a couple of the celebrations, Dave Filoni would come out and show unfinished animatics, and they showed an animatic of this episode where so when
I didn't see that.
yeah, when Quinlan goes and finds Asajj, she's on this
Mhm.
planet chasing after her bounty, and he gets involved. He showed that animatic of that. Yeah, so it was pretty neat to see, and yeah, it makes you really want to watch those episodes. But all right, so crunch time, I guess. What do you rate this book?
I really want to give it a 5 out of 5. So I'm going to go 4.75 out of 5.
Oh wow. Okay. This is at the top of my list. So whatever sits at the top is a 5-star for me. So this is 5 stars
Mm,
across the board. Very similar to, The Empire Strikes Back being the best star. It's a 5-star movie, I think. But this is by far, to me, the 5-star book right now. It is on the top shelf for me. Yeah, it's that good.
yeah.
So Christie Golden did fantastic. Katie Lucas did fantastic with the scripts. It's just an overall great story. Great addition. If you're at all a Clone Wars fan, you will love this book. Right. Last thoughts. Last comments.
I mean, yeah, read it. If you like Star Wars, read it. That's
Yes,
it. Done. End of story.
that's right. Done. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We hope you get some insight on some additional stories that you can go at. The whole point of these things, right, Hannah, is to encourage everybody to go experience some of these other stories, because there's some great content. And look, I'll be the first to say it's not all great.
No.
No, it's not all great. There's some stuff in here that you don't want to experience, but
Hmm.
and honestly, I think we will get to that point where we will come across one. I feel like that we do want to talk about, to say, hey, this isn't the greatest thing, but here are the good things about it, and here's maybe where it falls short, so I definitely think we'll, at some point, just a little preview, I really want to get into the Aftermath books,
Mhm.
Hannah's going to dive into those. I'm going to re-listen to them because it's been a while since I've read those and listened to those. But that's a series right there that I would say I want to talk about because I think some great things about them. But it's a little tough to get through a little bit. And I have to warn you, Hannah, the first book is a little rough to get through. But once you
Okay.
get through it, the second and third book are really good.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anyway, so that's a little preview. We'll talk about that eventually. But we got other stories that we're going to dive into, comics, other novels, and possibly some games. I mean, Star Wars Squadrons is coming out here in about a week. Are you going to play that at all, Hannah?
I'm gonna try.
Okay, great.
I'd love to play it.
Well, I'd love to. We will do a Beyond the Saga with that campaign. Then that storyline for that game as well. So, all right, everybody, subscribe for more and go to InsideTheForce.com to subscribe to the podcast. We are on this channel is going to be on the podcast feed as well. So we appreciate you listening. Appreciate you watching. Thanks everybody. Take care and stay safe out there. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. May the Force be with you.